Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DiFurio with Keys to the Shop, and welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at La Marzocco, and they've been making espresso machines at La Marzocco since 1927, by hand in Florence, Italy. They are a household name in coffee. The reason why is because the dependability of these machines is just second to none. They are workhorses. If I had a nickel for every time I've heard the word workhorse used with La Marzocco, you don't get that nickname, really, unless you are dependable. And that is exactly what they are. But they're also beautiful. They're also very innovative, technologically advanced if you need or want it, simple if you need or want it. So there's lots of different configurations of espresso machines, sizes and shapes, styles to fit your cafe. And what you need from great espresso equipment is likely found at lamarzocco.usa.com. Reach out to them also, info@lamarzocco.usa.com. And their salespeople are always happy to help you select the right equipment for your cafe. Also, we are brought to you today by our friends at rattleware.com. Now, Rattleware has been around for quite a long time. I would dare say generations. Their equipment is not something that you might see all the time because you have to pick things up and look underneath it to see what it is, like a pitcher or a whisk or a shot glass. But that smallware stuff is exactly what they are passionate about. Simple, functional smallwares that work. When I say functional, everyone uses this word functional. You know if it's functional because if you're a workaday barista and you're using this stuff all the time, you can tell if it works or not. This is their test. This is the test they have to see, are we hitting the mark, right? So go to rattleware.com and look at their smallwares. You got to go and check it out for yourself. You're always needing smallwares. I know everybody does, whether you're just starting out or you need to replace some things. I think Rattleware is a great option. Again, rattleware.com. Now, today's episode is going to just be around a question that people ask a lot on the old internet. And a lot of times you find this question in chat forums, or chat forums. Am I showing my age here maybe? But, back in the day, we used to have a lot of different forums, and that's how community happened in conversation. And in this particular instance, we're talking about like a group on Facebook that is the Coffee Business Owners Group. And if you're familiar with that or other types of groups, it's a well-run group, and there's lots of great information there. I'm hanging out in that area, that forum here and there, and lots of other great coffee people are. But one of the things that you get a lot in that kind of a context is, and you may even think about this yourself, is a question that is not so much a question about technical data. It's more about reassurance. And it's around the idea of, are you slow today? Who else is slow today? Or maybe around this idea of, is this normal? But specifically, are you slow today? And is this happening to anybody else? The questions are, they remind me of years ago, a long time ago. I was a kind of a nervous flyer, and turbulence, was part of flying. However, as a nervous flyer, one of the things that I would do as a way of coping with my nervousness was that you'd ask the person next to you, who I'm assuming is nervous. They don't seem nervous. And so you find the least nervous person and you ask them, hey, this is normal, right? And I'm being a little vulnerable there, and I don't know what it is. It's maybe anxiety issues or whatever. But honestly, the information was basically always the same. I knew what somebody would say. They're never going to say, first of all, no, this is totally abnormal and we should panic. But they would always be like, yeah, I fly a lot. This is definitely normal. And that's kind of reassuring. However, it's also kind of bad because it establishes for me a sort of mechanism that doesn't allow me to get past that nervousness. It almost validates it in a sense, because that's a completion of a process. I get nervous, I look around, I ask, they assure. So you become sort of used to this rhythm of constantly sort of having somebody to validate these feelings, except Now, today, after, long, time of flying and things like that, yeah, I don't ask those questions anymore. I have a lot of evidence from experience, and I'm just a different person. I would say as I'm older now, I have a lot more resilience and a firmer grasp on things, and a firmer grasp on myself. So rather than using other people to sort of, I would say, enable my constant asking, every time I felt something, I would ask. Nothing is wrong with asking so far as it's not something that's covering up or enabling something that is meant to be worked through and not sort of continued as a method for management or a method for leadership. Now, let's bring it back to coffee. In the coffee shop, there's going to be ups and downs. Rarely there's going to be trends where like Square goes out or you have a global pandemic, and these things are just going to affect everybody. But you're having a slow week and you ask the question, is anyone else having a slow week? Now, the answer is never going to be conclusive. If somebody else is having a slow week and you say, boy, I'm glad it's not just me, in the back of your mind that what they just told you is inconsequential to your situation, but it served the purpose of kind of making the fear a little bit less. Nothing wrong with that per se, except you kind of know that there's something deeper, that this is an experience that is common is the point. And if it's common, but you continue to sort of nurse this anxiety that logically you shouldn't continue to nurse, but we have forums that people are, and this what's the harm in asking? Let's create a community of enabling us to stay in this state of anxiety around these slow days or these slow weeks, and asking questions that really don't have an answer that should make you feel that great, except the answer of your situation is unique. It is likely that in the stage of business you're in, somebody could speak to you about back when they were just getting started, the first year, the second year, third year, all that stuff. Generally speaking, you will go through ups and downs, highs and lows, and it's normal. That is normal. What you can do about it, because now, unlike the example I used with turbulence, you're actually the pilot. So you now are, instead of turning to other pilots, you have to pay attention to your business, your plane. You have to pay attention to your community and use this opportunity to be more curious and less judgmental. And I would say don't catastrophize things that are unanticipated, because that's honestly what it comes down to when it was the turbulence issue. Every bump feels like, well, that obviously means the plane is going to go down, or it's going to lead to a bigger one and a bigger one and a bigger one. But many people will tell you, okay, that if you can take this in stride and be curious and learn about it and do what you can, truly what you can. Don't rob yourself of that curiosity and investing energy into your business by making yourself feel very good when you post online about these anxieties that you have, because that can and does make people feel as though, okay, well, if it's normal, I'm not going to do anything about it. Now, you might need to do something about it. Maybe, yeah, okay, it's normal, but just because it's normal doesn't mean that you don't take action. It's also normal to take action on things and to go out and market your business or to fix the quality issue or the hospitality issue. But because something is common in the industry, sometimes is this kind of a warm feeling, like we're in this community together, but it doesn't inspire the kind of decisiveness and action and curiosity about our businesses. More so, it's like there's this fraternity of coffee shop owners that are kind of helping each other, but helping to sort of say, hey, we're empathizing together. And at a certain point, you can only empathize so much before you need to say, okay, what do we need to do about this? Some things you can't do anything about because you'll never know exactly why you were slow on Wednesday. Now, if every single Wednesday you are just tragically slow, that trend is something that your cafe is experiencing. The people outside your context can only do so much. So if you are in Illinois and somebody is in California, they might be able to generally say, okay, well, we're fine on Wednesdays, but we've been slow. So the bigger narrative here is what to do during times that are slow, if indeed it's a trend. It's not even just a trend. It's an established fact that for the last 3 months on this day, we have been super slow. Now, that could be something now to address for operators that are just, starting. They're just kind of getting their sea legs and they're figuring out the dimensions of this vehicle and how it interacts with the community. And every piece of data, everything that comes back is feedback that they're going to use to the second year have a little bit more of a wise decision-making rubric that they'll use to distribute people or finances and actual energy toward problem solving. Because a lot of times in the first year, everything seems like the world's biggest problem, but it may in fact be fairly common. So that's kind of fine to do at first. But if you nurse that sort of anxiety and create somewhat of a cadence and a rhythm of constantly needing to be reassured rather than reassuring yourself through organizational knowledge and growth through that anxiety, then you're not going to learn the lessons that are necessary to get rid of that anxiety. And so when we ask the question, hey, is anyone else slow today? Maybe let's ask a better question, because it's kind of a nonsense question. Anybody else slow today? Because it doesn't really, if somebody said yes, you can't go, I thought it was just me, because you have no idea what the context is. Rather, let's ask questions about, I've noticed from how I've paid attention to my business that this is the trend. It's somewhat concerning. I know, and you can speak it out, type it out. I know that there's ups and downs in businesses. How many of you have gone through low points in these certain day parts, and what have you done that's been successful in helping turn the trend around in the other direction? That's a really good question. And honestly, asking great questions is how you get great answers, and useful ones at that. So the ones that will make a difference in your business and will make a difference in the way that you are able to, in the future, answer your own questions. And you'll be the one helping somebody else in the same position later on. So anyway, I just was thinking about this as I saw the question come up again. It's maybe I've seen this question 100 times come up. And it's a normal process, but it's something to move through. It's not something to camp on. And I hope that this was helpful to think about for you. Whether you're the one giving the advice or you're the one asking the question, let's keep having these conversations, keep asking good questions, and growing as coffee shop leaders. And so thanks, everybody. I really hope that this was helpful. And as always, we'll see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.